Hello, friend. This week's guest is Amberly Lago, and she knows something about resilience. She shares her harrowing journey of overcoming sexual abuse as a child, embracing her scars, and finding joy in life after a traumatic motorcycle accident that required 34 surgeries and counting. We talk about shame, guilt, and the courage of letting go of past identities to embrace new opportunities. Learn the power of radical acceptance from someone who is living it with complete and total grace, and stay till the end because the lessons just keep flowing out of her. She was an absolutely amazing guest. Well, a while back, I shared my story on the podcast of how I reversed heart disease with a whole food plant based diet. After the show, head over to my YouTube channel and check out the short videos that I've been making for you so that you can see examples of my quick, delicious, and easy meals. And don't forget to subscribe to the Age Like a Badass Mother channel so you never miss a video. And I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart for listening and sharing this podcast. It's my honor to get to talk to you every week. Thank you. Hi, friends. I'm Lauren Bernick, and I'm flipping the script about growing older. My guests have been influencers since before that was even a thing. Welcome to the Anti-Aging Podcast. Welcome to Age Like a Badass Mother. Amberly Lago is an international speaker on grit, resilience, and connection. She has shared stages with best-selling authors and thought leaders including Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty, and Lewis Howes. She has also spoken for multi-million-dollar companies such as Lululemon, Google, and Athleta. Her 2019 TEDx talk, The Pace of Pain, has had hundreds of thousands of views to date. She hosts the podcast, The Amberly Lago Show, which Apple recognizes as one of the top 1% of all podcasts in the world. Amberly has overcome major trauma, including a horrific motorcycle accident that shattered her right leg, required 34 surgeries to save her leg, and altered her life forever, leaving her with complex regional pain syndrome. Her latest book, Joy Through the Journey, Shift Your Mindset, Embrace the Present Moment, and Cultivate Resilience Through Life's Ups and Downs, is filled with practical exercises and mind-shifting strategies to help you go from surviving to thriving and embrace and accept your present moment. Given all that she's been through and all that she's accomplished, I can't wait to hear what she has to share with us. Please welcome Amberly Lago. Hello
Oh,
and welcome.
thank you so much for that most beautiful introduction. Can I just hang out with you all day?
I wish. I mean, you're in Dallas, right?
Yeah,
I'm in Austin, so that's not impossible.
uh,
We could see each other.
I know. We need to make that
So,
happen. It's a
yeah,
3-hour drive. It's a
it's
quick
3 hours,
trip.
it's nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to just jump in because there's so much to cover with you and I want to start with can we just start with your childhood? Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm
Going back. Um
going back. Yes, I
going
am an
back.
open book.
Yeah. So I know that your childhood, you were a dancer and an athlete, but you also suffered abuse at the hands of your stepdad. And that was just probably one of the first of many things that you've had to kind of overcome and do with this grit and resilience, your life lessons in life. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember years ago going to a therapist because I was having issue this is years and years ago before I was married and I was dating this guy, and I went to this therapist, and I had all these issues going on in my relationship, and she stopped me in the middle of our session and she said, "Excuse me." She goes, "Were you sexually abused as a child?" And I said, "Well, yeah, yeah, but I'm over that. I've moved past that. I've dealt with that already." And she goes, "No, I don't think you have." And I was like, "Oh, wow." And I didn't realize that I still had a lot of healing to do. And then I realized also that I, and this is hard, this was hard for me to admit, but I thought, okay, you heal, you get over it, you deal with it, you move on, and you're done. And I've realized that it's not linear, and there will become times that, like, I'm surprised that I will get triggered, and I'm like, "Dang it." The good thing is that, you know what? Even though there are times when I get triggered and those thoughts or that feeling, that shame, comes up, at least I know that I can get through it. I know that there are tools that I can use to get through those times, but, yeah, so I was sexually abused. It started at 8 years old, and I think I finally had the nerve to come out and say something about it when I was in high school, and I didn't get the help that I needed. And it was at that moment, at first, I thought, well, I'm not worthy of being protected or loved. And then at the same time, I thought, but you know what? If I want to get better, if I want to protect myself, it's up to me to do it. And the next time my stepdad came into my bedroom, he was big and I was little, and I fought him and kicked him, and I remember grabbing his hair and pulling his hair, anything I could do. And you know what? That's the last time he ever laid a hand on me.
Mm. When you finally man, that's I mean, I don't wanna say when you finally stood up for yourself because that's like blaming you, and that's I mean, I mean, that's not the right thing to say, but that you finally did stand up for yourself because you were little, like you said, you didn't have the tools, you were scared. I mean, it's things happen to little children. It's so I think that's why people have such a tenderness in their heart for little children is because, they're not really in control of their lives. And for other people to prey on them that I mean, I don't want to paint him as a monster, but he was a monster.
Well, yeah. And I have to say, if I ever found out that somebody was hurting my child
Mhm.
that way, oh my goodness, Lord have mercy. I'd probably be in jail right now. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Of
And
course.
I just don't think the people that I confided in and asked for help, I don't think that they were healthy enough or mentally stable enough to help me, but I
Mhm.
didn't know what to do. I didn't know who else to turn to, and so I feel lucky that I did stand up for myself, but I also, instead of, diving down into some bad behaviors, I turned to things that made me happy. Like, I really dove into things that made me feel better, stronger, more empowered. So that's when I was in all AP classes and was Miss Greenville High School honor student, um, in the dance company. I worked 3 jobs in high school. I was just, like, so determined to do something good and make something of my life, and I knew that as soon as I graduated high school, I was getting the hell out of there. I was like, I am leaving this town," and I think there's part of that I always say, and I've written it in my book about how pain pushes you until your passion pulls you. And sometimes we need that little pain, which I don't wish that upon anybody. But I think that that helped propel me into there was no turning back. I was not
Yeah.
going back. I knew I had to make it in LA 'cause there's no I was not going back. There was nowhere else for me to go.
Yeah. And I want to talk more about forgiveness because that's a huge component of how I think you moved forward from that. But before we talk about forgiveness, I want to talk about your horrific car accident because herein lies another person you had to forgive. So, can you tell us about your accident and what happened and the results?
Oh, the motorcycle
The
accident?
motorcycle accident.
Okay. Yeah, and the reason I'm asking is because, uh, uh, I've actually made a joke about this, that my next book should be called Look Both Ways because I've been hit by a car 3 different times. Once on my bicycle, um, and then once on my motorcycle, and then once my daughter and I were riding our little razors, our scooters, and we were hit by a car. So, I think the accident you're talking about
Yes,
is
the motorcycle.
the one,
Wha
the motorcycle when
I
yeah.
don't I don't mean to laugh, but I mean, I made a note of that because I thought that was so funny in your book that you could laugh at it, that your next book should be called Look Both Ways. Yeah, because I was like, "Oh my gosh, this poor woman." But yes, I am referring to your motorcycle accident.
Yeah, yeah, pretty crazy. Man, life can just change in the blink of an eye, you know? I mean, so fast, and I was coming home from work on my motorcycle and just cruising down the boulevard. I was, only going about, I think, 20, 25 miles an hour. When you crash on a motorcycle, the speedometer locks on however fast you're going. And I think it was like 25 miles an hour that I was going. And I had this SUV that shot out of a parking lot, and so they T-boned me. And when I say shot out, it wasn't like a little fender bender, like, "Oops, let me just tap you," and get. It was like they punched it out. So I was hit, then thrown in the air, and I just remember sliding across the asphalt. And when I finally came to a stop, is when I looked down at my leg, and I just saw it crumbled into pieces. And in that moment, I really didn't know how the severity of it. I didn't even know that I was like, "Wow, there's a lot of blood, and this looks like one of those horror movies," because, in the horror movies, like, the blood squirts out like a geyser. Well,
Right.
that
From
really
like an
happens
artery?
when
Oh.
it's an artery. So my femoral artery was severed, and with every, beat of my heart, the blood was pumping out of my body. Luckily, I had a guy that came over, and right away he made a tourniquet around my leg. And I was thinking, one of my first thoughts is, well, this can't be good. I might have to train clients on crutches for a while. This is
'Cause
going
you
to
were a
suck.
personal trainer then.
Yeah. And I had no idea that it was gonna change the whole entire trajectory of my life, that I would be soon in a coma, soon to go surgery after surgery after surgery, 33 and 34 in total, and I'm actually scheduled for another surgery June 2nd,
Oh, wow.
and, how I would be diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome. And, the thing is, yeah, it's like it's a lot getting hit by an SUV and going through surgery after surgery, but that's not the hard thing. That is not what is the hardest thing for me.
What is?
The hardest thing is I live in constant chronic pain from this nerve disease that people will see me limping and they're like, "Oh, you're limping." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I'm hurting."
Yeah.
Or or I just did my annual event and somebody saw me limping and they're like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why?" And they're like, "Well, you're limping." And I just want to say, "Well, you don't realize I live with a lot of pain. This pain is ranked top of all the nerve conditions out there. It's ranked higher than amputation, higher than passing a kidney stone, and I've passed a kidney stone. Um, and there's no known cure for it.
Right.
And so that is what is hard for me. Um, I don't ever think I've even said this before. I would rather go through 34 more surgeries if I would be promised that I wouldn't have to live with CRPS for the rest of my life.
Mhm.
'Cause I've
Mhm.
tried every kind of medical
Yeah.
treatment out there. I mean, I've spent thousands on medical treatments, and my heart goes out to people who spend so much money on things where people are like, try this, try this, try this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be discouraging. And I think it's super, super important to make sure that you are putting yourself in the right space and you are trying every single day to strengthen yourself mentally, spiritually, and physically so you can get through the hard moments. Because, look, whether you're dealing with a nerve disease that leaves you in a lot of pain, or you're just going through a hard challenge of your life. Pain is pain. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we really need to come together to support each other so we can get through that. And I mean,
Yes.
I know how excited I was just to get to see you. And when I got to see your beautiful face on the screen, I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." That connection is so important because I know that for so long I felt alone, and that led me into, I mean, I was into isolation, and then I got into addiction, and I was like, how did a good girl like me end up here? Like, what the heck? And I actually thought, how did a good girl like me end up becoming an alcoholic? And it's because I didn't have that connection, and I slowly started to isolate myself. And connection's the opposite of isolation. And I feel like we need connection more than ever right now, whether
Yes.
it is through health and wellness, or it's an entrepreneurial journey, or whatever it is. We do need that connection, and we need to lend a hand and reach out to each other and check on our friends, even our strong friends.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I, I want to, first of all, how long ago was your accident?
It was, oh my gosh, do you know it's going to be, this year will be 15 years ago.
Okay, that's what I thought. So, I mean, you've been suffering for so long. And like you said, you got, you had to go through addiction and, and conquer that. I mean, you've had, you're like, I mean, I admire so many things about you, but just the fact that you take things head on, that you're like, okay, grab the bull by the horns. And, you, what are some of the things that you do to, deal with the pain now? Like, how do you I know that
Well,
every day it probably changes.
yeah, it does, you know. I think what really helps is, well, first of all, I came up with the word pacer,
Right.
and it helps me to remember how pacer stands for perspective, acceptance, community, endurance, and rest.
Yeah,
And
you talk about that in your new book, Through
yeah,
the
and
Journey.
I'm not I have to remind myself I'm not perfect. I am stubborn. I mess up all the time, and I constantly fail and learn and fall and get back up. But I think that what helps me the most is my whole mindset around it. And so I think that the more you can be in a positive mindset, and I'm not the most positive person. I have to work at it. And I do that with gratitude. I start out with gratitude every single morning, and I end my day with gratitude. And I have a gratitude practice. And so, um, I have
What's your practice? What do you do?
I have a group of ladies. We call ourselves the God Squad, and we text each other 10 things that we're grateful for every day. And there's even an app that I use, and it's a recovery app. It's called, and I'm not affiliated with this app in any way, but it's just something that helps us connect and stay uh, accountable to each other more. It's called My Spiritual Toolkit. And you don't have it, it's a recovery app. You don't have to be in recovery to use it, but I like it because there's a place where you can go to My Toolbox and you click on it. It says your gratitude journal, and you can literally write down 10 things you're grateful for and press one button and it sends it to your gratitude list, whether it's one person or you have a group of ladies. And if you're having a bad day, man, you can go back in that gratitude list. I mean, we've had this list going on for years, and I can look back at all the things that I have been so blessed and been so grateful. Um, and then, when you can also read what somebody else is grateful for,
Yes.
it can
Uh-huh.
really change the way you feel about your circumstances because,
That's your perspective,
yeah,
like you
I
talked
mean,
about in Pacer.
yeah, yeah, because a friend of mine, she's going through cancer.
Oh.
She's going through chemo treatments,
Mhm.
and I'm not
What
having
are
a good
she what
day.
Yeah. What are some of the things that she's grateful for? What has she said?
Oh gosh, that she had, a better treatment and was feeling less nauseated,
Mm.
that she got to spend time with her daughter, and I'm thinking, here she's going through chemo treatments, and I'm complaining about or I'm thinking about, like, so much of what we focus on, where our energy goes, like, I just feel like the more we focus on the good gets better. The more we focus on the bad stuff, that stuff
Yeah,
gets even bigger, you know?
that's proven. That's proven. Where your mind goes, your body follows. And I mean, yeah. I want to one of the things that I want to focus on forgiveness because okay, so now we have these two examples of these two things that either one could have really taken somebody down. And you've had two I don't you've had these two things in your life. How have you what kind of practice did you do to forgive your stepfather, to forgive your people who didn't stand up for you, your parents, your the man who was driving the SUV? Do you have like a practice to forgive each one of them, or a meditation, or what was your process?
Well, that's a great question, and I remember actually being in the hospital, and my husband was so angry, and I just remember him yelling and cussing, and he's gonna pay for this, what he did to my wife, and I remember writing my first book, True Grit and Grace, and, I would send part of my manuscript off to the editor, and he would send it back, and he sent me back what the edited whatever I'd sent him, and I read it, and I said, "Wait a minute, you added some stuff in." I said, "I didn't write this. Like, what is all this you wrote in about me being so angry about the guy that hit me?" And he goes, "Well, you didn't write down that you were angry at the guy that hit you." And I said, "But I wasn't." I said, "It was an accident." I said, "If I would have focused on anger at him for hitting me, I wouldn't have healed the way that I did." I was really solely focused on how can I get through the day and be better in every way, mentally, spiritually, physically. I was focused on, like, being so tedious about the things I ate because if my blood sugar was elevated, if my blood sugar numbers, if it came in over 125, your risk of infection is higher. And
Right.
so I was eating no carbs. I had, clients and um, friends bringing me organic food in the hospital. I had my own refrigerator in the hospital. So I don't really like, I don't know. This sounds weird, but I don't feel like I ever really was so angry or had to forgive the guy that hit me. I just feel like I had some compassion in my heart for him because I would hate to be the person who caused that much pain to somebody else, and so I tried to see it in a different aspect, Um, with my father, who I told about the sexual abuse and he didn't do anything about it, we have forgiven. Actually, writing my first book really helped because I talk about that in my first book, and that really, I feel like, brought some healing for both of us because he had never really come to terms with, "Oh, yeah, you told me about the sexual abuse and I didn't do anything about it." And he said, "Well, you made me promise not to tell anybody." And I was like, "Yeah, Dad, but I was a little girl and I was scared to I He told
Mm.
me that if I said anything to anybody that he would kill my mom, and I believed him." And I said, "So that's why," I said, "but you can't tell anybody." It was a cry for help. Um, I think that just having a conversation around things and understanding that, you know what? And I know you hear this terminology a lot. He did the best he could with what he knew, and I
But it's
understand that.
true. Right. I
It
think you
wouldn't have
hear it a
been
lot
how
because it's
I would
true.
have
Mhm.
reacted.
Of course. Yeah. I I know. I think you're right. Like I do. I think we hear that a lot because it's true. And I even, I've had some, not nearly as big of a situation, but with my father, having to talk to him about things that he really did that hurt me, not on that level, but uh as a grown up, and like I feel like we were never close until we really had those hard conversations. And I did have to forgive him and realize, all right, well, he was just a human. He wasn't, a super person just because he was a dad. And that's just, meeting somebody where they are. And I think you can't do that when you're a child because you do expect these people to protect you.
Yeah.
Did you was that a hit and run accident, or did that person stop and see the damage he did to you?
Oh, that motorcycle
Yeah,
accident?
the motorcycle.
Um, no. He stopped, and I remember everything so it's like everything is so crystal clear and everything is so vivid, and I can replay it over and over in my mind. And the only thing that I can say that I did have a hard time with, I understand accidents happen. The thing that I had a hard time with is that after he hit me, and I'm guessing he was in shock because there I am laying in the street, blood everywhere, and he stood across from me with his arms crossed in front of him. He never came over to me. He never came to see me in the hospital. He never reached out to me. In fact, I think after that, he left the country.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, he stood there in front of me and didn't come over. That's the only thing I really had a hard time with, because I know if I, God forbid, had ever done anything like that, I would be making the tourniquet around their leg.
yes.
I would be like, "Here, let me give my," because I had so many blood transfusions. "Let me give some blood,"
Right.
whatever it's gonna take. But yeah, he never reached out, never heard from him, never saw him.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And it's hard to, I mean, he's had to live with that, you're right, for 15 years, and you don't know, I mean, probably what's going through my mind about his mind, like, I'm, totally making a guess. This has obviously no truth to it, but, I mean, he's probably, like, an attorney or something and thinking, "Well, if I help her, that's an admittance of guilt, or if I ta" that's the kind of thing I'm picturing,
I
uh,
think so.
because
I
how could you
think
not reach
so.
out? Yeah?
I really think so. I actually mentioned that to, my husband, and he said, "Well, there's gonna be a lawsuit, and he is gonna be urged not to reach out to you at all," and I'm just like, "I could just never do that."
No, I couldn't either.
I
But
I mean, there were people There were people that happened to drive by the accident, and there was, like, a nurse that came over, and thankfully, she came over and she grabbed my hands and she helped me breathe. She said, "I need you to breathe with me."
Right. Right.
I had her and this other guy and another couple of people who I didn't even know. They were strangers that they happened to see the accident. Do you know they came to see me in the hospital?
I do. I believe it.
They
Yeah,
came to
that's the
see
human
me.
connection.
That
That's what
they
you're
came
talking
to
about.
see me in the
Mhm.
hospital.
That's beautiful. That is that human connection thing that you're talking about that we all crave and need, and yeah, they were thinking about you, of course. I mean, when you witness something like that, that's crazy. And then, I want to talk a little bit about your leg because you I think your superpower and what you really do is help people not only with forgiveness and with kindness and with joy and all the things and letting go, but uh, your leg is scarred, and I love how like I've seen it on your Instagram where you show your leg and you said these are my scars and I'm grateful to have this leg and all the things that you talk about that have enabled other people then to feel good about whatever imperfections they have. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, thank you. I think that it was really hard for me after the accident. I mean, my nickname used to be Legs. That was my nickname
Oof.
in the
Wow.
gym, was Legs. And I was known for my workout partners were fitness competitors, not females, but men. I worked out with the guys and I was just as strong as them and would warm up with 7 plates, 45-pound plates on each side of the leg press as my
Oh
warm
my
up. I was
gosh.
like, so I really and being sponsored by Nike and in the fitness industry and in the dance industry before that, to wake up out of a coma and look down at your leg and realize, "Oh my gosh, like, my leg is scarred from the hip down." Um, I it's deformed. My ankle's fused. I had somebody say, "Why do you work out in boots?" And I'm like, "Well, boots are the only thing I can wear. I have one brand of shoes that I've been able to find that don't flare me up, don't flare the CRPS up like other shoes do. So I work out in boots, but it's also because my ankle's fused and I don't have any dorsey or plantar flexion, or I should say that not in trainer terminology. I can't
Yeah.
point my toe.
You can't
Um,
point your toe. Okay.
um and so it was really hard to accept all those scars. I feel like I had a whole identity shift. Like I was only identified as what I looked like and how much I provided, how much money I made, what I did for a living, how many clients I trained, what I could provide for my family. Then I had to realize, and it took me down a dark path, and that's how I got into becoming an alcoholic. Was I was in denial, and I was not wanting to admit the way that I looked, the way that I felt. I just wanted to numb everything out, the way that the shame, the pain, everything. And what I realized is we heal what we reveal. And when we are in
We heal
accept
what we reveal. I love that. Yeah.
and you know what? Acceptance for where we are and who we are on our journey is the beginning of any transformation. I think we have to,
100%.
like, take a good hard look at what is going on in our life, who we are, accept what's going on instead of putting the blinders on. Take a good look, because if you don't admit if something isn't working or it's not hurting or it's not broken or needs to be mended, how is it gonna get better? How are we gonna take action steps to move in the right direction? And so I think it starts with being in radical radical acceptance of yourself and who you are and where you are.
How did you get to that point of I mean, I've said this on the podcast before that I've heard this saying that the suffering comes not from the situation, but because you're not accepting it. And how did you get to that point of accepting? Was it a process or just looking at it and being
Uh,
grateful
it
or
it was complete desperation. There is a gift in desperation, and I was to the point where I thought, "I can't believe I have survived a horrific motorcycle accident and made it through 34 surgeries only to be slowly killing myself every single day with alcohol. What is wrong with me?" I thought I was so different. I was not an addict or what? This can't be my life. And what I realized is, yep, addiction doesn't discriminate. And I was to the point where I didn't wanna go on continue living, but I was too afraid to die. And to the point where I was just like, "You know what? My kids deserve a better mom. My husband deserves a better wife. They deserve more." And, I just man, in that desperation, I got on my knees and I prayed. And I was like, "I need help. God, please help me." And, that gave me the little bit of courage that I needed to actually get out of the isolation and reach out for help. And sometimes all it takes is that one glimmer of hope, that one glimmer of courage, that 1 ounce of action or inspiration, that one call, that one thing that we can do, that can change our life.
Mhm. And you reached out to a person who took you to AA or what who did you reach out to? A friend?
Well,
What
well, funny you should ask. I reached out to, actually a former client of mine, which was very hard and very humbling to reach out to a former client to tell her that I need help. I got a problem. But I reached out to her because I knew she was in the program.
Mm.
And she goes, "Yeah, you know what? I'm going to help you. I'm going to take you to a meeting." And a week went by and I didn't hear from her. And I thought, "Oh my gosh, I need help like yesterday. No, I need help now. Like I'm going to die. I need help." And I just got and I share that because, sometimes we reach out to people and even with their best intentions, they may not have the time or they may not just be in the right place to help. And so it's important for you to be willing to help yourself. And so I then got on Google and I Googled like 12-step recovery meetings. And I found a meeting that I could go to when my daughter was in school and my husband would be at work. And I was now sneaking my drinking to sneaking going to recovery meetings. And I remember,
Why were you sneaking? Because you didn't wanna commit to it?
oh,
Sneaking
sneaking.
going to meetings. Why were you sneaking going to meetings? You didn't wanna
I
just
was
put that
sneak
out there because you were
Oh
didn't
yeah,
wanna commit to recovery?
had so much shame.
Mm,
So much shame. How did somebody who has been a professional dancer and athlete hired by Nike in the fitness industry, how are you an alcoholic? Like, uh, and nobody knew. It wasn't like I was a party girl, going to the clubs. It wasn't that. I was drinking out of just pure desperation to get out of pain, and
right.
I was hiding
Physical,
it. I
mental
was
pain,
hiding
yep.
it. No one knew how
Mhm.
much I was drinking. I didn't want anybody to know.
Sure.
And so to go from having this great life and in being in the fitness industry to now all of a sudden I'm saying, "Oh, by the way, yeah, I need help. I got a little problem over here." I was yeah, there was a
You're
lot of shame, there was a lot of embarrassment, and I remember walking into the room thinking, "Oh my gosh," and I remember even when my husband first found out that I was going, he's a former lieutenant commander. I mean,
police.
uh-huh. How is he married to somebody who has a problem like this? So he was like, "Well, what if somebody that you see at one of the meetings?" And I'm like, "Well, they'll be there for the same reason I will be."
Exactly.
But you're not often thinking like that
Right.
when you're first walking into the room. It was scarier, I will say, scarier than any surgery that I've ever prepared for was walking into that
Wow.
room for the
Wow.
first time.
Wow, and you almost lost your leg. I mean, that's very scary. Wow.
It's you're admitting, you're like owning the, "Well, this isn't working. Uh, I got a problem. My life's a mess." You are basically I felt like, you're just having to be in full-blown acceptance
Yeah.
of how much help you really need.
Mm.
And when you've been a strong person your whole life and been able to somehow, some way get through hard things and have willpower and you feel completely powerless over this situation, it's a humbling experience.
I do not doubt that. I don't doubt that. Well, I wanna shift a little because I wanna get to the joy part because
I
you
know, I'm sorry, that was
you
dark and heavy.
no! I mean, you have your experience is a little dark, but the truth is, like you said, that you've discovered the joy through it, and not only you know what? It's like you just said, you are helping people. There are people listening to this podcast today that who knows what they're struggling with, whether it's an imperfection, whether it's they need to come to terms with that, they need some help because they're an alcoholic, whether they're suffering with pain, whether they're suffering with shame, whether they're trying to forgive somebody. I mean, you are helping people, and that's why you're here, and that's why you do what you do. And not only that, you had this incredible career, but you finally realized, I have to let go of this career, and then even a better one came along. And so, that's the thing about letting go and helping somebody else. Can you talk about the letting go and then the joy through the journey, that part of it?
Yeah, that's such a great question. You know what? I think I, for so long, was so trying to fix what I felt like was broken. And I was just trying to get back to doing what I did and fix what was broken instead of going, wait a minute, maybe there's this whole other glorious new opportunity right in front of me. And when I did finally go, okay, this is not go I'm not there's no going back. Resilience doesn't mean bouncing back. It means the courage to choose happiness and joy, to move forward even when things don't go as planned. And
Mm.
for me, I feel like, who knows what's ahead? I'm constantly learning and growing, and I had a call with a client early this morning, one of my favorite clients, and she's like, "Well, I usually have this big vision, and I've got this vision, and I see it, and I'm a little unclear clear about the vision." And I said, "Well, why not have fun with your vision and see what is gonna bring you more joy?" I said, because I used to think I want to be speaking, doing 100 keynotes a year and traveling all over until I started traveling every single week across the country. And I was like, no, I actually don't want to be traveling this much and don't want to be away from my family. So I got more discerning on exactly what I say yes to. Um, Same thing with, I think anything in your life, it's really kind of having a vision and really going, okay, I have this vision. I want to do these things. That's important. But I think that if you aren't finding joy throughout that process, it's going to be harder to stick to it. I think I know that it does take grit to be successful, especially as an entrepreneur. But what I have found, and one of the hardest things for me was I was just gritting it out. And I hit a place where I was on the brink of, I mean, I was about burnout. I was about ready to throw in the towel. I was having major health struggles again. And it was like I had to stop and go, wait a minute. Like, what is the point of life? Let's have some joy through the journey of life. And so I
Mhm.
think it's important to think about what brings you. I know joy comes from deep within us, but there are things that spark joy in our life. And whether that is the I've got gardeners outside right now and I can hear them mowing the grass and I love the smell of fresh cut grass, whether it's a blue sky, whether it's my hug and kisses from my puppy dog, whether it's a song, whether it's dancing, whether it's working out, spending time with your loved ones, your kids, your partner, whatever it is, what brings you joy, to add more of that into your life and to start to get very discerning on what you spend time on and who you spend time with.
Mhm. Yeah. And are are you really discerning? I feel like you work really hard. I feel like you're a very hard worker. Do you really take a lot of time for things now? I don't mean to call you out, but I mean,
No,
I
I'm
just
just
feel like you are a very hard worker.
I am just laughing. Oh my goodness. I just love you for that question because my new assistant, it's the first time I've ever had anyone that helps me with my schedule.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this morning I woke up and I was like, what the heck? What's going on with my schedule? I was supposed to have a 10 o'clock and what happened to it? And look, did you can't, well, yeah, I didn't think you were feeling that well. I'm like, no, 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 no. Before you cancel something, you need to ask me. But it's hard, me being the control freak that I am. I've never had anybody else help me with my schedule before. And so she has been very helpful at like, no, you started work at 5 a.m. You are going to be finished with work by 5 p.m. Or she will say,
That seems like a lot.
yeah, but before I would just be go, 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 go. And also she's like, "Nope, that's a no. That's a no. That's a no." And
I
it's
love
like,
her.
it's really helped. It's hard to have somebody that,
Yep.
to kinda you feel like you're giving up that, like, your control over stuff.
Control.
But you know what? I had a good friend of mine say to me, she goes, "Your impact is only as strong as you are healthy."
That's right.
And it's so true. We cannot make the impact we want to make if we don't have our health. And so health is top priority and
Mhm.
not always easy to do, but I'm working on that.
You are. What are some things that you're going to do today that are going to bring you joy?
Well, I'm super excited. I just got a message right before our call that my daughter finished her AP exam and she's going to be home early. So I love hanging out with I know some people
Of
don't
course.
enjoy their teenagers. My teenager is like the best. She
Oh,
is
that's lovely.
awesome. She is amazing, and we have so much fun together, so I'm looking forward to hanging out with her. I get to have, a phone call with one of my good friends, after this call. Um, and let's see. Well, I don't know. And you know what? This sounds kind of weird. I love being organized and getting things
Yeah.
organized. And
Mhm.
I will finally today, if you could see my desk right now, I still have so much out on my desk from everything that went on from our annual event. And so today I'm looking forward to actually wrapping all that up, getting that tied up and done. And it's crazy that it's been a week since our event, but it's taken that long just to kind of catch
Yeah.
up from everything.
I get a little joy buzz from organization too. What do you wanna talk about your annual event? Do you wanna tell people what that is?
Yeah, we just wrapped it up. It's called the Unstoppable Success Summit. And next, we're doing something completely different. So we're getting together in Kauai for a 5-day retreat. We usually have a 2 to 3 day event this time. Next, we will be doing in July a retreat together.
What is it? What
It's
kind?
it's have you ever been to Kauai?
Yes.
It's
Oh, wait,
beautiful.
no, I have not been to Kauai. I've been, I think, everywhere else in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I have not.
Yeah,
That's like the gardeny, greenest part, isn't it?
it's beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. So, we're meeting, for 5 days, July 13th through the 18th, and doing really brainstorming, learning, masterminding, and having fun.
This is
So,
for women,
for
or who
women
is this for?
for women. Mhm.
And what is the purpose of this group? The unstoppable, what is it called?
It
Unstoppable.
Yeah, it's to bring like-minded, passionate women who are out there that, like, they have a message to share. They are ready to make impact, and they want to step up to the next level. So, it's a way to come together, and I think, like I said, I'm huge on building community, and I don't think any entrepreneur should have to do it alone. I think that, it can be hard and
Uh-huh.
discouraging and depressing doing it all on your own.
Yes.
And so I just like bringing good women together. And
I
I
love
so
it.
wish that you could have come to our event this past weekend because I did not realize you were in Austin, and I
Yeah.
would have just gifted you a ticket to
Oh,
come.
you're so sweet. You're
I
so
would have
sweet. Well, I
totally
would.
loved to have had you there because the women that get in the room, now we do have some men come, and it was interesting because I had some of the women say, "Well, I like that you have men that actually come to your event too, but it's a really good masculine energy." I'm like, "Oh, no, they're all amazing men that come."
Yeah.
They're like huge supporters of women, you know? But yeah, next event that I have, we'll be having a retreat sometime in September in Dallas, and I'll let you know.
Okay, I
I'd
would
love to
love that.
have you in
Thank you. I
person.
would love to hug you in person. Um, well, just want to bring it back to our the theme. I mean, we've covered a lot of things that really do help you age well, but what do you have any best advice for aging well?
Sleep.
Sleep. How old are you?
Oh, I'm 53 or am I 54? I'm like, do you ever get to the point where you're like, "How
I
old
know, I
am
don't
I?"
know. I mean, I'm 56, but I say I'm 57 all the time. I'm like, "Why am I skipping ahead?" So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I
So
am
you're
53.
okay, so sleep,
53.
well, you are lovely. And so you think sleep is the best. Are you a good sleeper?
Um, I have tried to get a lot better about sleeping, and so I think that if I can get good sleep, that's when, you know, not just our bodies recover, but it's when we can get in that good state of sleep that our subconscious also
Mhm.
recovers as well, and our
Mhm.
brains work better. And so I used to think like, I just have to go, go, go and work harder and work longer. And it's like, no, there's a time when I'm just like, nope, time to shut it down. I do have like an Aura ring that's charging right now.
Uh-huh.
It's not on. I think I need to get a new one. I don't know if you know what the Aura ring is, but
It measures your sleep, right?
yeah.
Your sleep. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And
and mine keeps dying a lot. Like I think it's just old. I've worn it so much and it's not charging as long.
mhm.
Um, but that helps you. It really tells you your deep sleep, every night, and I love it. It's like having a journal of your sleep
Yeah.
and your recovery, but I think that, good sleep and everything that we consume,
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
not
I agree with
just
that.
what we eat, but what we watch, what we listen to, all of the
Yes.
things.
I agree with that. Do you have a favorite health or beauty product?
Um yeah, actually, I would say that something that I use every single day and I have for years is I think gut health is extremely important. And
Mhm.
so every morning I wake up and the first thing I do is I have a gut health supplement that I pour it into my water and I drink that, and a few supplements I take every night to help with gut health. Um so I think that is probably one of my that's one thing that I do. Like, I think it's important to have, you know, like your list of non-negotiables, things that you
Yes.
do. And it's funny because my husband saw me the other morning. He was sitting in the dark in the living room. I didn't know he was awake, and he was sitting in the chair in the dark. And he sees me. I'm like a zombie. I wake up in the morning and I'm just down in this bottle of water with my gut health supplement in it, and he just starts laughing, and I was like, "Oh," he goes, "Oh my gosh, you just downed that." And I was like, "Yeah, this is what I do every single morning. This is what I do."
Do you have a best piece of advice, just period? Not age related, but what's your best piece of advice?
I would say listen to your gut. Took me
Mm.
a long time to trust my gut again, and you know what? Our heads might say something, our heart might say something, our gut never lies, so always trust your gut and listen to your
Yep.
gut.
That is really true. That is true. Well, Amberly, you're just so lovely and so wonderful, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks for listening, friend. From my heart to yours, be well until we meet again.